Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to join you today for the release of the State Department's annual report on international religious freedom. Every year, the State Department prepares a comprehensive review of the status of religious freedom in countries and territories around the world. We do this because we believe that religious freedom is both a fundamental human right and an essential element to any stable, peaceful, thriving society. This is not only the American view, it is the view of nations and people around the world. It is enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It is protected by the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and it is guaranteed by the laws and constitutions of many nations, including our own, where religious freedom is the first freedom listed in our Bill of Rights. Because we believe in religious freedom and because we are committed to the right of all people everywhere to live according to their beliefs without government interference and with government protection, we are troubled by what we see happening in many, many places. Religious freedom is under threat from authoritarian regimes that abuse their own citizens. It is under threat from violent extremist groups that exploit and inflame sectarian tensions. It is under threat from the quiet but persistent harm caused by intolerance and mistrust, which can leave minority religious groups vulnerable and marginalized. For further violence against religious minorities in the Middle East, Sufi, Shia, and Ahmadiyya holy sites in Pakistan have been attacked. I would now like to welcome Michael Posner, our Assistant Secretary for Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor, to elaborate further on this report and to answer your questions. Michael?
It details both improvements we've seen over the past year as well as government failings. Let me give a few examples. In Pakistan, against the backdrop of continued extremist violence against civilian targets, the number and severity of reported cases against religious minorities increased. For example, in May, extremist attacks on 2 Ahmadi congregations in Lahore killed at least 86 people.
It's about Pakistan. The report says the government took some steps, but not enough. And you say, and I quote, but serious problems remain. Can you explain this a little bit?
You're talking about in Indonesia or?
Pakistan.
Oh, in Pakistan. There is, as you know, a widespread pattern of violent attacks from extremist groups. I mentioned the one, the bombing in May. But there have been attacks against Christians, against the Ahmadis. There's still discriminatory laws on the books, blasphemy laws, anti-Ahmadi laws. We're raising these issues with the government of Pakistan. The government is taking steps. It's a very tense situation now, and there are tensions within the society. So it's a mixed picture, honestly. We give the government credit for steps it's taken, but also recognize that more needs to be done, and it's part of our diplomacy with them.
Teacher, you mentioned about this, and now again you mentioned about the blaming the extremists. But what about what you say specific laws that discriminate against members of religious minorities in Pakistan? That is under governmental control. Say specific laws that discriminate against members of religious minorities in Pakistan. That is under governmental control.
Right, and as I said just a moment ago, we are mindful of those laws. We're concerned about those laws. We raise our concerns directly with the government of Pakistan. One of the things this report does is identify in Pakistan and elsewhere government actions that contribute to the problem, and when we see that, we're going to raise it. Pakistan's not alone in that.
Just a quick follow-up.
Sure.
You in all your answers, you mentioned that with France, you raise these issues. What exactly level it goes, and Is it just a meeting and then nothing happens, or you expect some results? And when can we hear about those results?
You know, I don't think a meeting ever gets results. There has to be a consistent message delivered by different people, and it has to be accompanied by follow-up. That's what we're trying to do in each of these situations. We talked about Egypt. I've been there twice. I'm going to go back there. There are other government officials raising our concerns. Same thing in Pakistan, the same thing in other countries I'm describing. In some places we have more leverage than others. It's frankly difficult for us to exactly be the ones to promote a human rights agenda in North Korea because our relationship is so strained. But we will continue to raise these issues publicly and privately, and we regard this, again, the notion of principled engagement is this is part of what we do as a government. We're going to do it in a consistent way, in a sustained way. Multiple officials are going to raise it, and we will keep pushing until we get the results that we're aiming for. The goal here is to allow people to practice their religion freely. This is a human rights issue, and we regard it as one of great importance.
Just a quick one. The Secretary said today that we want to see religious freedom around the world. And she also said that she wants to see people with all faith or with no faith can live together. And Pakistan is your friend country. You're giving billions pumping in. Why cannot you have a clause of human rights and religious freedom?
I think what I've said, has come up in several different contexts, with Egypt, with Saudi Arabia, with Pakistan. We apply a universal standard to every country, friends and countries that we have difficult relationships with. That doesn't mean we don't have security interests or economic interests or other diplomatic interests. But we will raise these issues as we see them, we'll call them as we see them, we'll write these reports straight out based on a universal standard, and we will continue to press governments to promote and respect religious freedom, the right of people to practice their religion freely without constraint.
Last two questions. We'll go in the back and then here.